Hi everybody, my name is Paula Pedret and I'm a product owner here at AttackIQ. And today I'm bringing to you a new episode of Cybersnacks. I'll be talking about our new network control validation module and some exciting new functionalities that we have built as part of it. First off though, let me share with you what my go-to snack is. Believe it or not, it's nuts of any type: almonds, walnuts, hazelnuts. They fill me in and I don't feel guilty if I binge on them, so well, let me grab one and let's get started. Alright, so first things first, in order to be able to test our network security controls, the first thing that we have to do is to represent our network within the AttackIQ platform. This is, we have to define a graphical representation, which we call the topology. And in order to do that, we simply have to go to the main menu, and we will see there's a new submenu called Topology. If we click on it, we can already see here that there's already a topology map created. This is our map network topology representation. And this consists of two main components, let's say. One is zones, and the other one is boundaries. So what are zones? Zones are logical representations of our network segments or groups of network segments. And in order to create one zone, we can do it from two places. We can do it either directly from the topology map page by clicking on the plus button, and here we can see this button to create a zone. Or we can also do it from this menu here under the topology. So if we go to zones, we also can see that there's a button called create zone. And well, creating a zone is as simple as adding a name and select the assets that belong to this zone. Also, from this page here, from the zones page, we can also view already created zones and do any changes that we want. So for example, if we go to this zone, we can see which assets belong to it. We can change the name if we want to. And most importantly, we can add and remove assets from it anytime. So for example, if you have a new device in a zone in which you have deployed an AttackIQ agent, so you have a new asset that corresponds to this zone, you can always add this asset in the AttackIQ platform to thoroughly represent this topology change here. Then, another important thing to take into account is that in the topology map, there's always an internet zone that comes here by default that we can not delete or add new internet zones. And basically, the internet zone represents a zone outside of our network. Also, as part of the network control validation module, we give you the possibility to upgrade it in order to get the hosted agent service as well that AttackIQ provides. And this means that if you opt in for this capability, you will get an asset hosted by AttackIQ outside of your network that you can seamlessly use for north-south testing or south-north testing. And this asset, if you opt in for it, it will live in the internet zone. Then, as I was saying, there's another component which is crucial in order to represent our topology map thoroughly, which are boundaries. Boundaries represent the separation between networks or zones, and they are often associated with a specific network control product. And this is typically the focus of testing using the network control validation module. So here we can see some boundaries that have Palo Alto in it, some boundaries that have Checkpoint, and also some boundaries that don't have a specific control added to them, but that they can also be needed in order to represent our topology thoroughly. So in order to create a boundary, we go again to this plus button, and we can see there's an option to create a boundary. In order to create a boundary, as I was explaining, we can either select an already existing security control in our platform for which we have an iteration for, or we can leave it empty, simply define the security control directionality and proceed with a non-defined boundary. When it comes to the boundary directionality, please note that there is the toggle. This toggle allows the AttackIQ platform to test whether the traffic is checked by the security control both to and from the selected zones through the boundary. And well, as soon as we have our topology correctly represented, we can proceed with testing our network security controls. In order to do that, we can create an assessment from our new network control module template. So if we go to the template library, we can see there's a new section called network. And in this section, we have 3 new assessment templates. On the one hand, we have the network control validation template, which can be used to create customized assessments to test network security controls through the managed replay of a curated library of pickup files. Not only this, but you can upload the empty pickup replay scenario and upload your own pickup files. We will see it in a bit. And on the other hand, we have 2 vendor product templates. In one case, we have the Palo Alto template, which allows you to test these security profiles. And on the other hand, we have this checkpoint vendor product template, which allows you to test these default checkpoint blades. So let's see them a bit more in detail. If I create one network assessment template, or if we see one that is already created, for example, this one, we can see that the first thing that we are prompted to do is to set it up. What does it mean that we need to set up a network control template, regardless of it being the network control validation or a specific vendor product template? What it means is that we, first of all, need to select which boundary we want to test for that given assessment run. So for example, let's say that we want to test this boundary here. What I would do is I would click on it. And as you can see, I'm prompted to select which of the zones that are part of this combination of boundary and zones are, which one is the attacker and which one is the target. I can interchange the roles. And then the second and most important thing is that we select one asset in each zone so the scenarios can run on them. So let's say that, for example, I want to click this one and this one. I select save. And now we have this configured. In this case, because it's the network control validation template, which as I was saying is fully customizable, the next thing that we have to do is configure a test. So, in this assessment, the only thing that we can do is add pickup replay scenarios because, again, what we want to do is test network controls. So let me show you one pickup scenario. So we go to the test configuration options, manage scenarios, add a scenario. And from our library, we can either select pickup replay models already created, or we can select our pickup replay template and upload your own pickup file. So let's do this for the sake of this demo. So add the scenarios. And what's the pickup and replay scenario? It's a scenario that can simulate malicious traffic being sent through your corporate network through replaying it. It's a realistic way to evaluate how security controls might respond to the different examples of adversarial communication. And as you can see here, because I chose the pickup replay template scenario, you still need to configure it by uploading the pickup file of your preference. When a pickup replay scenario is not ready, we need to configure it, as I was explaining. And besides adding the pickup file to it, you need to determine whether the attacker is the client or server in the pickup communication that will be replayed. Then, as I was explaining earlier, we have the vendor product template as well. So let me go back to them. And we'll create an assessment from scratch. So if I go back to network, let me select, for example, the checkpoint. I'll create a new one. And then, as we saw for the network control validation module, the first thing that we need to do is select a boundary. As you can see here that for the checkpoint vendor product template, we can only select boundaries that have checkpoint in them. And the same happens with the Palo Alto default profile health check template. In that case, though, we could only select boundaries that have Palo Alto in them. It's important to remark that the assessments created from these templates do not support changes or additions of the test groups or scenarios. This means that we can only delete tests if we are not interested in them. And well, once we have our assessment correctly configured, we can run it. So let me show you which sort of results we can obtain. After running it, that by the way, we can run an assessment on demand or scheduled as with any other assessments that we have in our platform. We can have a situation where none of our threats have been prevented or detected by the security control. In this case, we get this message. And also we have mitigations available that tell us how we can improve the configuration of our security controls in order to turn this from red to green. So here we can see a call to action button that allows us to quickly go to the mitigations page, which lives under the results menu. And in this page, we can see the list of mitigations that would apply to this assessment run. And within each mitigation, we can see to which test this mitigation applies and to which particular scenarios. Then we can have the case where some scenarios were prevented and some weren't. In this case, we would get this banner. Here we can see that 6 out of 7 scenarios were prevented or detected. That's why at the end we get this overall banner. But then for the other cases, none were prevented or detected. And finally, we can have the case where everything was successfully prevented or detected. Here, as you can see, there are no mitigations that would apply to it. And we have the possibility to clone this assessment to test another boundary or security control. Because again, hooray, things look good for, in this case, Palo Alto configuration with the threads that we added in it. And last but not least, we can also export reports. There are 2 types of reports for the assessment related to network templates. So we can see them now. There's one that is a summary report containing the high-level overview of the results, and another detailed one where we will see all the details related to mitigations, detections, etc. Thank you for joining me on this episode of Cybersnacks. Hopefully you found it valuable and learned a little something new. If you're interested in taking a deeper dive into the AttackIQ platform, you can join one of our live weekly demos every Thursday. We'll put a link that in the description below, and we look forward to seeing you there and on the next episode of Cybersnacks.